It's time now for Where You Live with Gene Sullivan, the show that deals with the news and events that affect you the most. Whether you rent or own, live in an HOA, single-family home, or an apartment building, Gene will tackle the issues right where you live. So, from the True North Painting Studios, here's the original man of steel, Resolve himself, who stands for truth, justice, and the association way. Here's Gene Sullivan.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Where You Live. I'm Gene Sullivan, and I'm broadcasting from the True North Painting Studios. When you're looking for the right painting contractor, what do you look for? Isn't it someone who will respect you, your time, your property, and your budget? That's what you can expect from True North Painting. Find out more about this exceptional company by going online at truenorthpainting.com. That's TRU northpainting.com, or give them a call at 952-831-1433. I'm also brought to you by the great folks at Extreme Exteriors and American Family Insurance, the Kim Bennett Agency. I'd like to give a shout out, as I always do, to the man that makes it happen, Christopher Wyatt Earp Huberty. How are you, Chris?
I'm good, Gene. How you doing?
Before the show, when I come in to record each week, I go across the street from the station because I usually come a few minutes early. I want to always be prepared.
Sure.
And so I'm just sitting in the parking lot, and I'm just kind of going over my notes. And a fella pulls up his car, and he rolls down his window, and he does one of these things where, he looks both ways. As if someone is, hey, man, I know this is going to sound weird, but do you want to buy a really good sound stereo equipment?
Clearly a licensed person of the station, clearly.
and I said, no, thank you. He said, no, I've got the receipt and everything. Came through Canada. Yeah, okay. And I said, no, thank you. He said, too weird for you, huh? And he took off. And don't have all my Christmas shopping done, but I'm not going to have it done that way.
There you go. That's right.
Okay. Well, hey, we've got a lot to cover on today's show. We're going to do property management in the news a little bit later. We have a guest that I'd like to welcome on the show. His name is Alex Nelson. Alex is an attorney and a partner with Benson, Corain, Storrs, and Nelson. And they have experience in construction defect litigation and insurance coverage issues. This is all that they do as a law firm. And so I want to welcome to Where You Live, Alex Nelson. Hello, Alex.
Hi, Gene. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, now on here, too, I learned a couple of things. It says that you were selected as a Colorado super lawyer in 2014. Now, when you get selected as a super lawyer, do they give you a cape, or what do they do when you become a super lawyer?
I wish. I wish that came with it. No, there's a little plaque, I guess, that goes with it.
Okay. But one of the things that I thought, and with all seriousness, I think it's very interesting. There's something else. Another award was called the Complete Lawyers. It says not only for stellar legal practice, but also it's because this person has also has a very robust life outside of the office, filled with hobbies, community involvement, and you have been selected as a complete lawyer as well. And I think that is really great. You are involved with a Ski Bum scholarship, is that right?
Right. Yeah, I give a scholarship every year to a student at the law school where I studied, someone who excels in alpine sports in spite of the legal curricula. So it's somebody who's also well-rounded and, studies hard but also has fun.
And I think that is great. A lot of times when people select in an HOA who the experts are going to be, an attorney, a CPA, property manager, other people, it's they probably should ask questions about people's other life too, because you want someone who's pretty well-rounded. And I say this as a sincere compliment. Listeners, this is the kind of man who I golfed with once, and he was out of town, and you know the character of a man when his children say, "My heart hurts when Daddy's not home," and that is I give that to you as a sincere compliment. That is really great to have. Sounds like you have a very full life, and I've appreciated that. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show, because you have, I think, a very great perspective, and one that other people need to hear, Alex. Now, we're going to talk about construction defects, and that can be kind of a tricky thing. There's a quote. Someone once said that there are no secrets that time does not reveal. Now, that can certainly be true when it comes to defects, but time is not something that someone always has on their side in discovering and being able to make a claim for a construction defect, correct?
Yeah, that's right. There are a lot of different rules about when a construction defect claim needs to be brought against a builder or developer, multiple time frames that have to be calculated. And if you don't meet all of the different timelines, you run the risk of having your claim partially or entirely dismissed. And the timing is really the number one reason why we turn cases down at our law firm. If it looks like there's a statute of limitations problem and the case should have been referred to an attorney earlier, we often turn it down, and frankly, we turn down more cases than we take.
Yeah, so that's unfortunate, because then what we're talking about is that things that probably should be corrected, things that people would be responsible for, they get off because of a technicality, right? Because of a limitation.
Right. It is a technicality. It's if the builder walks away, not because the construction's correct, but because simply the clock has run.
Okay. When does the clock start ticking with a construction defect?
Well, for the statute of limitations, the clock starts running when a property owner or an association knew or should have known that they have a defect. And there's a lot of debate about what does that mean. It leaves ambiguity, obviously, when somebody should have known about something. But generally, it's when the defect manifests. So, for example, in a roof leak or in a roof defect situation, when the first roof leak happened, that might be a good way to think about it. That the defect is manifested, and you know, or you should know, that you've got roofing problems.
Okay, so that very beginning is when you really need to be on the ball. One question that comes to my mind, and I know a lot of our listeners would have, and that is, how do you balance that with not wanting to be a complainer? I mean, if there is an issue with a roof leak, some people would think, oh, that could be just minor maintenance that needs to be done, let alone I've got to begin to gin things up and have a lawsuit and begin thinking of suing for construction defect. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right, and it's tough. It's a tough situation for a property owner. Nobody wants to be that person who just runs straight to the courthouse and sues somebody. That's not our first instinct. Our first instinct is to give the benefit of the doubt to the situation and think, oh, yeah, this is just a minor maintenance thing. I'm a homeowner. This is expected, and I'm just going to deal with it and keep going. But the reality of it is, unfortunately, is that the clock is ticking, and if it turns out to be something more than that minor maintenance issue down the road, the property owner might get burned. And so it's really tough. You got to keep good records, make sure you're diligent and checking up on problems you think you've solved or that kind of a thing.
So what do you suggest? What do you do to you keep a record of when this begins, but when do you begin to begin the conversation with the developer or builder and say, hey, I think we've got a problem here?
Well, really, I think the first step is to truly determine whether you do have the defect or not. And so it's never too early to have a good assessment of your property done, either whether it's a contractor or an engineer or an architect or somebody else that forensically looks at your property and says, hey, is this an isolated incident that you're experiencing, or is it a more systemic issue? And it's really never too early to do that kind of a property evaluation. And then if the report comes back that, yeah, it's not just this one leak, it's got all sorts of problems, then it's a good time to start talking to your builder, talking to contractors about what it'll take to fix it. and unfortunately maybe start talking to lawyers.
Okay. Now, you talk about a statute of limitations. How does that differ from what is called the statute of repose?
Yeah, those are two different time frames, and you've got to be within both of them to bring a timely construction defect claim. The statute of limitations is really what we've been talking about, and typically the general rule is you have 2 years from when you knew or you should have known about the defect to bring your claim. The statute of repose is a little different. It's sort of an ultimate time bar that cuts off all your legal claims, whether you know about them or not. And it's 10 years in Minnesota. Other states have different time periods. Some are 6, 8, 10, 12. But it's 10 years here. And whether you know about your claims or not, 10 years after the construction is complete, you'll lose all your claims.
Okay. Well, we've got a lot more folks to talk with attorney Alex Nelson on how to handle a construction defect correctly. But we're going to take a break right now, so don't go away. There's a lot more of Where You Live after these messages.